Good morning, guys. Today I'm bringing you along for a canning recipe. We are canning up some French onion soup. I had to take a break. I am crying everywhere. I'm doing about 10 pounds of onions, and it's a mix of yellow onions and sweet onions. You can use shallots if you want, or white onions. I would say don't use purple onions, red onions, whatever, because those are best raw. But any other onion would be delicious in this. So, I am doing it off of, it's a recipe from this book. It's always good to look up the recipes that you're going to use, and then if you're wanting to do something that is not an approved recipe, then make sure you're using good judgment on that. But I like to always have a recipe and to not just do it off the cuff, and at least use it as a reference if nothing else. So this is actual French onion soup, and this particular recipe makes 8 1-pints or 4 quarts. I am doing 1.5. Yeah, I'm timesing it by 1.5 because I'm doing about 10 pounds. But the recipe calls for butter to saute your onions, and it calls for 4 pounds of onions thinly sliced, and then salt, pepper, thyme, white wine, and either beef broth, chicken broth, or vegetable stock, or bone broth. So essentially whatever kind of broth that you want. Now the instructions say to melt your butter, stir in the onions next to the ingredients, and 2 cups of the wine, and then cover and cook for an hour. I am going to be going slightly different. I'm going to make this like I make my French onion soup. So I have it in my 15-inch cast iron with some butter and then a little bit of oil to stop the butter from burning. And I'm going to let these caramelize for an hour just by themselves. I'm going to salt and pepper them. Actually, I'll do that right now. Salt and pepper them, and then just let them go for a good hour. So they have a nice caramelization, and they're just super delicious and yummy. About out of pepper. The other thing I'm going to be doing different is, hold on baby, and I'll pick you up. The other thing I'm going to do different is I have red wine instead of white wine. So I will be putting red wine in mine, and then, but it's a dry wine. And then I may add a couple extra spices, and that may be all I change. But yeah, so that is what we're doing. This will eventually go in my 20-quart stock pot, but I wanted to get a nice good caramelization on it. Oh, baby has it. A nice good caramelization on our onions, because that'll give it the absolute best flavor, and that is what we want. To open up a jar, and I'll use this for just soup, or I'll use it in recipes. It is delicious in recipes, or to make a gravy for Salisbury steaks, or just a gravy to go with roast, or put it in with a roast. It's gonna be good. Oh, that's what I'm doing extra. I will be putting in beef drippings. The last time I made a big roast, I took all the drippings and froze them in little ice cube trays. So I'll be taking that out and using that with the stock. So because of that, I may go ahead and just do it for meat time, because it says process pint jars for 60 minutes and quart jars for an hour and 15, but I think I may just go ahead and do 75 for pints, because that's what I'm going to do them in. And I'll just to be on the safe side in case there is some meat in my drippings. So I will bring you back whenever we're done caramelizing these bad boys. Okay, so we've already added our salt and pepper earlier. We're going to add garlic powder. Or you could use fresh garlic. I just don't have time to cut my garlic. So there's garlic powder. And then I'm adding some dry thyme. The recipe calls for a teaspoon, and that was probably, there's 3 teaspoons. And the recipe also did not call for the garlic, but I like garlic in everything. I'm going to add my red wine, and this is Cabernet, or you could use white wine like they use. Just make sure that it is dry. You don't want anything sweet. Okay. Alright, so I transferred it into my 20-quart stock pot. Now the recipe calls for 3 quarts of broth of choice. We are using beef. And so I will need 9, well, I'm going to do 6 quarts. And then I'm going to do my beef drippings. Six quarts of water. And to that, I will add some of my Better Than bouillon. Get something to get it out with. Okay, so there's that. And then these are my dripping cubes. So I'm going to add them in. And then this is just going to simmer with the lid on for another hour. Okay, so our, our French onion soup has gone for a couple hours in my big pot on a simmer. It is super dark, super rich, and I am super excited. There are a lot of supers today. I'll take you over real fast to let you see. Isn't that beautiful? And it tastes so good. I will say I forgot to mention the bay leaves. So I did add about 5 bay leaves to my pot. And now it's still really hot. I have my hot jars, and we're gonna get this canned up. Now, since I put in beef drippings that I froze, I will be doing my pints for 75 minutes instead of 60 minutes. If you remember, we're going off of a recipe in the Ball book, so it's the newest one. And I'm also fishing out my bay leaves as I'm doing this. It said to do 60 minutes, but no, don't put that on her, please.
It'll hurt it.
It said 60 minutes, but since I did beef drippings, just to be safe, since there could be some beef in there, I'm just going to do it for the amount for beef, which is 75 minutes for pints. At 10 pounds of pressure for my altitude. And we need 1 inch of headspace with this soup. We don't have to worry about debubbling because it's real liquidy. And another thing, I did not thicken this soup at all. I didn't put clear gel in it, which I've done in the past. I am leaving it like this so that I I can either just open it up for a can of delicious French onion soup, or I can reduce it down and make a gravy, or I can put it in as broth in my roast. The possibilities are endless with this. I've even had, with my last batch, I had mushrooms in it too. And I had someone actually cook it with pork chops. And oh my goodness, it was so good. And he thickened it up. It was pretty darn good. So I highly recommend, if you cook and you like onions, make this soup and can it up. So I'm going to continue on doing this and then get this going in the canner. Okay, so so our soup went for 75 minutes and it smells and looks amazing. Hold on, Dante.
No,
Hold on. Wait a second. So I want to show you a close-up. We ended up getting, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 pints, which I am so excited about. Ignore all that Halloween candy. There it is. Does that not look gorgeous? You can see all the onion and that deep broth. So I'm going to let these sit for, well, overnight. It's about 4 o'clock now, so I'll let them sit overnight, and then I'll wash them up, make sure everything's sealed, and put them away. And I am so excited to have these on my shelf. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I hope that it inspired you to maybe can up some French onion soup for yourself, because there is a lot you can do with it besides just eating it as a soup. So much more. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching.